The compressor on the Henderson's carrier unit seized at 4:47 p.m., which meant I was still on their roof when the sky turned the wrong color. Not sunset orange. That comes later in Tucson, around 7 this time of year. This was green, like a bruise spreading across the entire western horizon. I'm Tommy Vance. I fix air conditioning in the desert, which means I'm basically a priest around here. Everyone needs me eventually. 22 years doing this, I know the sound every train and Lennox and Goodman unit makes when it's about to die. The Henderson's compressor? That was a bearing failure. $80 part, but I'd have to order it from Phoenix because nobody stocks the old R22 compatible components anymore. I was explaining this to Mrs. Henderson through her kitchen window when my phone buzzed. Becca, Dad, there's like shooting stars everywhere. It's so cool. My daughter, 13 years old. Rincon Vista Middle School soccer practice at Udall Park, which is 4 miles east of here. Coach Patterson runs them until 6 every Tuesday and Thursday. Becca hates it, complains about the heat, about the grass that's more dirt than actual grass, about how Patterson makes them run sprints until somebody pukes. But she's good, real good. Started varsity as a 7th grader. Me, stay hydrated. Home by 630-inch. I should have said more. Should have told her to get inside. But how was I supposed to know? The meteor shower wasn't even on the news. I check weather constantly. It's part of the job, knowing when monsoons are coming, when to tell people their evaporative coolers won't work because humidity's too high. Nobody said anything about meteors. The green color was spreading. I stood up there on the Henderson's roof with my Klein Tools multimeter still in my hand, watching the sky turn colors that didn't belong. The compressor was fixable, but not today. I was thinking about the bearing, about calling my supplier in Phoenix, about whether Becca remembered to bring the Gatorade I'd packed her. Is that normal? Mrs. Henderson called up. She's 70-something, lived in this development since before it was a development. Back when this was just creosote and saguaro and maybe some javelina. That color. No, ma'am. I started packing my tools. The green was getting darker, deeper, like something mixing with the atmosphere that shouldn't be there. I'll come back Friday with a part. Keep your windows closed tonight. Run your ceiling fans if it gets too hot. Thunder rolled across the valley. Huge. The kind that shakes windows and sets off car alarms. Except the sky was clear, no clouds, no rain cells on the radar. I checked an hour ago. Just that spreading green and thunder that came from nowhere. My truck was parked in Henderson's driveway. I threw my Klein bag in the bed next to my recovery machine and my vacuum pump. The development, Desert Palms Estates, which has exactly 0 palm trees, was quiet. Tuesday evening quiet. Kids' bikes and driveways. Somebody grilling. The Ortega sprinklers running even though it's illegal to water after 4. I've told Frank Ortega about that 3 times, but he doesn't listen because his roses need the water and his roses are more important than the drought restrictions. Another thunder crack. Closer. I felt it in my chest. My phone rang. Becca's school. I answered before the second ring. Mr. Vance? Not Becca. Some woman. Official voice. This is Principal Kellerman at Rincon Vista. We're implementing early dismissal due to the atmospheric event. Where's Becca? All students at off-campus activities have been recalled. The soccer team should be loading buses at Udall Park now. We're asking all parents to. I'm going to get her. I was already in the truck. The ignition on my 2015 F-150 turns over rough when it's hot. Needs a new starter. Been meaning to fix it, but it caught. Tell her I'm coming. Mr. Vance, the buses are the safest. I hung up. Put the truck in reverse. The sky was half green now, half normal blue, like someone had spilled something toxic into the air and it was spreading east. Toward Udall Park. Toward wherever my daughter was standing with her cleats and her shin guards and her purple Gatorade. The first person I saw on Craycroft Road was already changing. I didn't know that's what I was seeing. Not then. He was just a guy on the sidewalk near the Walgreens, standing there, completely still, his arms at his sides. His face tilted up toward the sky like he was watching something. But the stillness was wrong. Nobody stands that still. Not in Tucson heat. Not in September when it's still 98 degrees at 5 p.m. I slowed down. The guy wasn't moving. Not even breathing movement. His shirt, ASU Sun Devils, maroon with the gold pitchfork logo, wasn't rippling. No wind, but there's always some movement. Always. His skin looked wet, shiny, like he'd been sweating and the sweat had crystallized on his face. I should have stopped. Should have asked if he needed help. But the sky was getting darker green and Becca was 4 miles away and my phone was buzzing again. Becca, Dad, something weird is happening. Becca, people are just standing around. Becca, I'm scared. I hit the gas. The F-150's engine whined. Needs new belts, been meaning to do that too. And I was doing 50 in a 35. The ASU guy disappeared in my rearview mirror. Still standing there. Still that awful stillness. Traffic was backing up at Speedway. Everyone heading east. Everyone driving too fast and too close. A white Honda Accord cut me off and I hit my horn, but the driver didn't react. Just kept going. Through her rear window, I could see the back of her head. Perfectly still. Not moving with the car's movement. Not natural. 3 miles from the park, my phone rang again. Different number. Local area code, but I didn't recognize it. Tommy Vance. Male voice. Young. Stressed. This is Officer Prieto with TPD. I'm at Udall Park with the school groups. Are you Becca Vance's father? Everything in my chest stopped. Is she okay? She's fine. She's on a bus. But sir, we need you to turn around. Do not come to the park. We're implementing a quarantine zone and what? The meteor shower released something. We don't know what yet, but people are becoming unresponsive. We're establishing a perimeter and all civilians need to. My daughter is there. Sir, the buses are leaving now. They're taking the kids to the emergency shelter at Flowing Wells High School. That's the safest place for her. I hung up. I was 3 miles from Udall Park. Traffic was stopped completely now. Gridlock. Everyone trying to go east and nobody moving. I pulled into the center turn lane and kept driving. Horns behind me. Someone yelling. I didn't care. Thunder again. Right overhead this time. So loud I felt it in my teeth. The green sky was directly above me now, and it was starting to rain. Except it wasn't water. The drops hitting my windshield were thicker. Heavier. They landed with tiny crystalline sounds. Tick, 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 tick. The wipers smeared them across the glass. They weren't clear. They were translucent, greenish, like melted glass. 2 miles from the park. Traffic still not moving. I pulled onto the shoulder. The F-150 bounced over a curb, and I was driving on the sidewalk now around the backed-up cars. Someone was pounding on their horn behind me. A steady, continuous blast that didn't stop. I glanced in my rear view. The driver was still, slumped forward onto the steering wheel. The horn kept going. His silhouette through the windshield looked wrong. Too rigid, like he'd been frozen mid-collapse. Another thunder crack and the rain got heavier. The drops were coating my windshield faster than the wipers could clear them, building up in translucent layers. The glass was getting harder to see through. I cranked the wipers to high, but they were just spreading the stuff around, creating smears that caught the green light from above and reflected it back at me. 1 mile from the park, I could see the light poles over the soccer fields. The parking lot was packed. Buses, police cars, parents' vehicles, all jammed together. I pulled into the dirt lot next to the monsoon retention basin, which has been dry for 3 years because we're in a mega drought, and got out. The air smelled wrong, like ozone and hot glass, like lightning and something chemical I couldn't name. The rain hit my face and it burned. Not fire burn, coal burn, like touching dry ice. I ran for the soccer fields with my hand over my head. The buses were loading, kids streaming out of the park, coaches herding them toward the yellow school buses lined up on the access road. I was scanning for Becca's purple backpack for her blonde ponytail. The green rain was coming down harder now, and kids were screaming, holding their jackets over their heads, running. A girl in a Rincon Vista uniform stumbled. She went down on the grass, the dead grass that's more dirt than plant, and didn't get up. A coach ran to her, tried to help her stand. The coach's hands slipped off the girl's arm like she was made of glass. She was turning translucent, right there, her skin going from normal to clear in seconds. I could see the shapes of bones underneath. The coach backed away, started yelling for help. Other kids scattered. Becca, I was running toward the buses, pushing through panicked parents, through TPD officers trying to establish a perimeter. Becca Vance. Dad, there. Bus 3. Becca in the window, third row back, her face pressed against the glass. She saw me, started pounding on the window. The bus door was closed. A TPD officer, young guy, Hispanic, his nameplate said Prieto, stepped in front of me. Sir, you need to evacuate the area. The buses are taking the kids too. My daughter is on that bus. The shelter at Flowing Wells is the designated. I'm taking her home. Sir, his hand moved to his belt, not his gun, his radio. You need to leave now. This area is contaminated. Anyone who's been exposed to the rain is at risk of thunder. Massive, the loudest yet. It shook the ground. I felt it through my work boots, Red Wing steel toes I've had for 6 years, and the sound was wrong. Not normal thunder. This was crystalline, sharp, like glass breaking on a massive scale. The officer's radio crackled. A woman's voice panicked. All units, code black at Udall Park. Multiple civilians unresponsive. Repeat, code black. Officer Prieto's eyes went unfocused. He reached up and touched his ear. His fingers came away with something green and wet on them. The rain. It had gotten in his ear canal. His face went rigid, just like the ASU guy, just like the driver on their horn. He was still standing, but his body was locking up. His hand frozen at his ear, his mouth half open like he was about to say something. I ran past him to the bus, pounded on the door. The driver, an older woman with gray hair and a bun, looked at me and shook her head. She wasn't opening the door. That's my daughter. I slammed my fist against the folding door. Becca Vance. Third row. The driver's mouth moved. I couldn't hear her through the glass, but I could read the shape. I'm sorry. The bus started moving. Becca was screaming. I could see her face, her mouth wide, her hands pressed against the window. The bus pulled away and I was running after it, but buses accelerate faster than you think, and my boots slipped on the wet grass and I went down. Hit the ground hard. The impact knocked my phone out of my pocket. It landed screen down in a puddle of green rain. When I picked it up, the screen was coated. The glass was turning opaque, translucent. The phone was still on. I could see the backlight through the coating, but the touchscreen wasn't responding. The green rain was hardening on it, vitrifying, turning the phone into a paperweight. I looked up. The buses were gone, all 3 of them, taking the kids to Flowing Wells High School, taking Becca away from me. I ran back through the parking lot, through the chaos, parents screaming for their kids, officers trying to maintain order. The green rain coating everything, coating everyone who couldn't get to cover fast enough. My truck was where I'd left it in the dirt lot. I got in, started the engine, backed out without looking. Someone's horn blared, but I didn't stop. Behind me, Officer Prieto was still standing in exactly the same position, his hand at his ear, his mouth open. The rain was coating him, building up on his uniform, on his face. His eyes were open but not moving, not blinking. He was becoming glass. I drove back to Desert Palms with Officer Prieto still standing in my rearview mirror, getting smaller, still not moving. The green rain was letting up, but the damage was done. My windshield had a coating on it now, translucent, greenish, like someone had smeared Vaseline across the glass, except it was hard, solid. I tried scraping it with my work knife, a Gerber folding blade I keep in the center console, but the stuff wouldn't budge. It had fused to the glass. The radio was nothing but emergency alerts, all of them saying the same thing in different ways. Stay inside. Close your windows. Do not go outside. If you heard thunder, seek medical attention immediately. That last part, if you heard thunder, I'd heard it 5 times, 6. The thunder that sounded like breaking glass. And Becca had been outside when it started, at soccer practice, under an open sky. My phone was dead. The green rain had turned the screen into a brick of translucent glass. I couldn't call the school, couldn't call the shelter at Flowing Wells, couldn't call Becca. Traffic was lighter heading west. Most people were still trying to go east, away from wherever the meteor shower had hit hardest. I made it back to Desert Palms by 5:52 p.m. The development looked normal except for the coating. Everything outside had that translucent sheen now. The palm tree, the one actual palm tree that the developers planted at the entrance to make the name less of a lie, was coated. It's stiff and glassy, not moving even though there was wind. The Hendersons' house was dark. So was the Ortegas. So was the house across from mine where the Kellys live. Dave Kelly is a long-haul trucker. His wife Janet works at the VA hospital. Their house is always lit up because they leave lights on for their kid. Their kid. Damn it. Austin Kelly, 10 years old, rides his bike in circles in the cul-de-sac every evening. I pulled into my driveway. My house, a 1987 single-story ranch, 1,400 square feet, evaporative cooler on the roof that I rebuilt myself last summer, looked untouched. But the motion sensor light by the garage didn't come on. I'd installed that light myself. LED bulb, photocell sensor, works perfect. Should have triggered when my truck pulled in. I got out. The air still smelled like ozone and hot glass. The rain had stopped, but the ground was wet. Puddles everywhere. Except they weren't water. They were solid. Translucent green sheets covering the asphalt. My boots stuck to them slightly, like walking on tacky paint. Tommy, Frank Ortega, coming across the street from his house. He's 62, retired postal worker, spends all his time on those roses and yelling at kids who cut through his yard. He was moving fast, almost running. "You see the news?" he said. "They're saying it's a contamination event. Biological agent in the meteor dust. Everyone's supposed to shelter in place. I need to get to Flowing Wells High School. My daughter's there. They're not letting anyone through. I try to drive to my sister's place in Marana, and there's checkpoints everywhere. National Guard. They're turning everyone back. Frank." I cut him off. "I need your phone. Mine's dead." He pulled out his phone. An iPhone 11 with a cracked screen he's never bothered to fix. The screen was coded too, green and translucent, but it still worked. He handed it to me. I tried calling the school. No answer, just ringing. I tried the main Tucson Unified number. Busy signal. I tried TPD non-emergency. Busy. I tried 911. All circuits are busy. Please try your call again. "There's something wrong with the people," Frank said. He was looking past me, down the street. The ones who were outside when the rain started. They're not moving. They're just standing there. I followed his gaze. 3 houses down. The Mertz's place. Old couple. Retired teachers. Mr. Mertz was in his front yard, standing next to his mailbox. Completely still. His arm extended like he'd been reaching for the mail when it happened. The rain had coated him. His clothes. His skin. He looked like a statue made of cloudy glass. "Jesus," Frank said. "Is he dead?" I don't know. But I did know. I'd seen Officer Prieto, seen the girl at the soccer field. We need to check on everyone. See who's inside. Who's safe. Safe from what? The rain. The thunder. Something in it makes people, I didn't have words for it, makes them freeze. Turn into that. Frank stared at Mr. Mertz. "We should call someone. FEMA. The CDC. The lines are jammed. Nobody's answering." I started walking toward the Mertz's house. My work boots crunched on the vitrified ground. "Come on. We need to count who's left." The Mertz's front door was locked. I rang the bell. Knocked. No answer. The windows were closed. Thank God for that. At least they'd followed the alert instructions, but I couldn't see inside. The coating on the glass made everything blurry. Mrs. Mertz's car was in the driveway. A 2010 Honda CR-V. She never went anywhere without Mr. Mertz. If he was outside, she should be inside. Unless she'd been outside too. "Check the back," I told Frank. "See if there's another way in. We can't just break into their house." "Frank, we need to know who's alive." He went around back. I kept knocking, kept calling out. Nothing. Frank came back 2 minutes later. Back door's locked too. Patio's covered in that glass stuff. There's a bird out there. A dove. It's just sitting on the fence. Not moving. Coated. We moved to the next house. The Pratts. Young couple. Both were from home. Software something. I don't know them well. They keep to themselves. But their garage door was open and I could see Tim Pratt inside. Standing in the garage. Next to his Tesla Model 3. Standing with his hand on the car door handle. Not moving. The coating was thinner on him. He must have been just inside the garage when it happened. Not fully exposed. But his hand, the one touching the door handle, was completely translucent. Glass. Fused to the metal. "Tim," I yelled. "Can you hear me?" His eyes were open, staring at nothing. Not blinking. Frank grabbed my arm. We need to get everyone who's okay into one place. Pool resources. Figure out what to do. I need to get a Becca. Tommy, they're not letting anyone out. I'm telling you, I saw the checkpoints. Military vehicles. Guys with rifles. This whole area is locked down. The sun was setting. The normal sunset, orange and red, mixing with the green and sky. It created colors I'd never seen before. Sick colors. The light reflecting off all the vitrified surfaces made everything look like we were inside a kaleidoscope. We went house to house, knocked on every door in the development. Desert Palms Estates has 42 houses, 23 families. We found 17 people alive and inside. Mostly older folks who'd been home when the alert started. A few younger people who work from home. One family with kids, the Rodriguezes, both parents and their 2 sons, ages 7 and 9. The boys were terrified, kept asking where their friends were. We gathered in the Ortega's house. Biggest living room. Frank's wife Linda had died 3 years ago. Cancer, so it was just him, but he had a sectional couch and a big TV, and we could all fit. 17 people. In a development of 42 houses. We need to establish a communication protocol, said Gregory Pham, who lives 2 streets over. He's a project manager at Raytheon. Loves protocols and systems and organization. Designate one house as a central hub. Set up a watch rotation to monitor for emergency services. We need water, said Janet Kelly, Austin's mom. She'd been at work when the alert started. Drove home to find her house empty. Dave was on a run to El Paso. Austin had been outside riding his bike. She couldn't find him. If the tap water is contaminated, the water's fine, I said. This is atmospheric. It was in the rain, in the thunder. As long as you were inside with windows closed, you're okay. How do you know? That was Brenda Choi, an ER nurse at St. Joseph's. She'd made it home just before the checkpoints went up. Are you an expert on meteoric contamination? No, but I saw what happened. I was at Udall Park. The rain, whatever's in it, it gets on you and you freeze. Turn into glass. But only if you were exposed. My husband was exposed, Janet said. Her voice was shaking. Austin was outside. He's out there somewhere. We'll find him, Frank said. Once this clears. Once they lift the quarantine. There is no quarantine lifting. Brenda cut him off. You don't understand what's happening. This is a contamination event. Biological or chemical. They're not going to lift anything until they know what it is and how to treat it. That could be days, weeks. The room went quiet. We have food, Gregory said finally. If we pool resources, we have enough for maybe 3 days. For if we ration. I'm not staying here for 4 days, I said. My daughter is at Flowing Wells. I'm going to get her, Brenda asked. The roads are blocked. You saw the checkpoints. I'll go around them. Through the desert. I've got a truck. 4-wheel drive. The desert is covered in that glass rain. You drive through it, you could get stuck. Or worse. Then I'll walk. Tommy. Frank looked at me. His face was exhausted. Scared. It's 12 miles to Flowing Wells. Through contaminated area. You don't even know if she's still there. They might have moved the kids somewhere else. Then I'll find out where they moved them. With what phone? What communication? You have no way to contact anyone. No way to know where she is. He was right. I knew he was right. But Becca was out there. Somewhere. Maybe safe in a shelter. Maybe in a bus that crashed because the driver froze at the wheel. Maybe standing in a field somewhere, coated in glass. Her purple backpack still on her shoulders. The TV was on. Gregory had found a local news channel that was still broadcasting. The anchor, a young woman with short dark hair, broadcasting from what looked like a home office, was reading from notes. Confirmed reports of mass casualty events across the greater Tucson metropolitan area. The CDC has classified the incident as a BSL 4 contamination event. All residents within the quarantine zone are advised to remain indoors. Do not attempt to leave the area. FEMA officials say the pathogen appears to be triggered by sound waves in the frequency range of thunder. The broadcast cut out, replaced by the emergency alert system tone. Emergency alert. Meteoric particulate. Indoor shelter only. Secondary alert. Quarantine zone established. All roads closed. Tertiary alert. Do not approach vitrified individuals. Extreme contagion risk. Contagion, Brenda said. It's spreading. Person to person. Janet asked. How does glass spread? It's not the glass. It's what's inside the glass. The pathogen is still active, still in the air, and anyone who's been vitrified is basically a reservoir. A carrier. So we can't go near them, Gregory said. Can't touch them. Can't. The power went out. All at once. Every light. The TV dying mid-alert. The hum of air conditioning cutting off. The house went dark except for the sick green light coming through the windows. Circuit breaker? Frank said. No. I knew circuits. New electrical systems. This is the grid. Whole neighborhood just lost power. Someone's phone buzzed. Brenda's. She looked at the screen. Emergency alert. They're shutting down non-essential services to conserve power for the quarantine perimeter. What about the hospitals? Janet asked. What about emergency services? Priority facilities only. In the dark, someone started crying. Quiet. Trying to hide it. I think it was Janet. We need a plan, Gregory said. Long-term survival plan. Food, water, security. I'm leaving tomorrow, I said. First light. Anyone who wants to come with me can come. Anyone who wants to stay can stay. But I'm going to find my daughter. Tommy, Frank said. Think about this. You can help people here. We need someone who knows systems. Someone who can fix things. The HVAC is out. We'll need to manage heat. Need to. I'm not staying. Brenda stood up. If you leave, you could bring the contagion back. You could expose all of us. I'm not coming back. The words hung there. Everyone's staring at me. Then go, Brenda said. But don't expect us to help you. I left the Ortega's house. Walked back to mine in the dark. The green sky provided just enough light to see by. Everything was shadows and translucent surfaces. The vitrified ground crunched under my boots. Mr. Mertz was still at his mailbox. Still frozen. The coating on him was thicker now, building up, like the glass was growing. Inside my house, I packed work gloves, water bottles, my Good Klein wire strippers, because you never know, a crowbar, my Gerber knife, flashlight, batteries. I found an old road atlas in the garage, from back before GPS, back when Linda and I used to drive to California to visit her sister. Linda, she died 4 years ago. Aneurysm, just collapsed in the kitchen one morning, and by the time the ambulance got here, she was gone. Becca was 9. Started having panic attacks after that. Afraid I'd die too. Afraid she'd come home and find me on the floor. I traced the route on the atlas. 12 miles from Desert Palms to Flowing Wells. Straight shot on Craycroft Road. But Craycroft would be blocked. Checkpoints. National Guard. I could go through the desert. Cut cross country. But the ground was vitrified. And I didn't know how far the contamination spread. Didn't know if the glass was everywhere or just in patches. I'd figure it out in the morning. I tried to sleep. Couldn't. Kept seeing Becca's face in the bus window. Her mouth open, screaming for me. At 11:47 p.m., I heard the thunder again. Distant, east, toward the mountains. But unmistakable. That crystalline sound. Glass breaking on a massive scale. And then I heard something else. Footsteps. Outside, on the vitrified ground. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Someone walking. I went to the window, looked out through the coated glass. Mr. Mertz was moving, not walking, not exactly. He was upright, standing, but his movement was wrong. Stiff, his legs moving in jerks, like a puppet on strings. The glass coating on him cracked with each step, pieces falling off, revealing what was underneath. His skin was gone. Just translucent flesh. I could see his bones, see the shapes of organs, see his heart, not beating, not moving, but visible through the glass of his chest. He walked past my house, heading east, toward where the thunder had come from. Behind him, other figures were moving, other vitrified people, all walking in the same direction, all with that same jerking, puppet movement. Tim Pratt from down the street, the girl I'd seen at the soccer field, Officer Prieto, all of them walking, all of them heading east, all of them still covered in glass. I watched them walk for 20 minutes, counted 47 vitrified people passing my house, all heading east, all moving with that jerking puppet gait. Some I recognized from the neighborhood, Others must have walked for miles away. They left trails in the glass-coated ground. Deep footprints, cracks spreading from each step. At 12:03 a.m., Frank knocked on my door. "You seeing this?" he said. "Yeah." "Where are they going?" "I don't know, but I had a guess. East, toward the mountains, toward wherever the meteor shower had been densest. You should get back inside. Lock your doors. They're not attacking anyone. They're just walking. You don't know that. Tommy, listen. We need you here. Brenda's talking about rationing protocols. Gregory wants to set up a perimeter defense system. We have 17 people and half of them are over 60. You know systems. You know how to fix things when they break. I'm leaving at first light. What if Becca is already dead?" The words hit like a physical thing. I turned on him. "Don't. I'm sorry, but you need to think about this. You saw what happened to the people outside. The rain, the thunder. Your daughter was outside when it started. At soccer practice, under open sky. She got on a bus, and you don't know if that bus made it. You don't know if the driver froze at the wheel. You don't know anything except that she was in the exposure zone, and now she's gone, and you want to walk 12 miles through contaminated desert to find her." "Yes." Frank's face twisted. Anger or grief? I couldn't tell. "We have people here who need help. Janet's son is missing. Austin. He's 10 years old. He was outside on his bike when this started. She wants to look for him too, but she knows she can't because if she leaves, she exposes everyone else. Then I'm exposing everyone by leaving. So you should be happy I'm going." "That's not what He stopped. Rubbed his face. "I'm asking you to stay. As a neighbor. As someone who's known you for 8 years. We need you. Becca needs me more." He left. I watched him walk back across the street to his house. The vitrified ground cracked under his feet. We got to his door. He turned back. "I hope you find her," he said. "I really do. I didn't sleep. Spent the night packing the truck. Water, food, tools, everything I might need." The atlas showed a route through the Rincon Valley. Mostly open desert. Some washes. If I could get past the checkpoints on Craycroft, I could cut northeast through the BLM land and come at flowing wells from the backside. At 4:47 a.m., my phone buzzed. Not my phone. My phone was dead. This was Frank's phone. He must have left it in my truck when he handed it to me earlier. I'd forgotten to give it back. The screen was coded but still readable. Text message from a number I didn't recognize. FEMA alert. Quarantine zone expansion. All residents remain indoors. Vitrified individuals confirmed mobile and aggressive. Do not engage. Emergency services suspended until further notice. Aggressive. I looked out the window. The street was empty now. The vitrified people had all passed. Heading east. But if they were turning around, coming back, if they were attacking, another buzz. FEMA alert. Contamination vector identified as audio-triggered pathogen. Avoid all loud noises. Thunder will accelerate vitrification process. Remain silent. A third buzz. FEMA alert. This message sent at 0430 hours September 19th. Quarantine established 48 hours prior to meteoric event based on atmospheric sampling. Event was anticipated. Shelter protocols were inadequate. FEMA Director Chenoweth has resigned. This account will be deactivated. 48 hours. They knew. FEMA knew the meteor shower was coming, knew about the contamination, and they sent out alerts telling people to stay inside, but they didn't evacuate. Didn't warn us what would happen if we were outside. They let it happen. I read the message 3 times, memorizing it. The phone was already dying. The coding spreading across the screen. Another few hours and it would be as dead as mine. Frank needed to see this. Everyone needed to see this. Proof that FEMA had known, that they'd let this happen, that 47 people in Desert Palms alone had died because someone in a government office decided shelter in place was adequate response to a BSL 4 contamination event. I walked across the street. The sky was starting to lighten. Not green anymore, just normal pre-dawn gray. The coating on everything reflected the dim light. The whole neighborhood looked like it was covered in dirty ice. Frank's door was unlocked. I pushed it open. "Frank, I need to show you something." He was in the living room, standing in front of the TV. The TV was off, no power, but he was staring at it anyway. His arms at his sides, his body completely still. "No." I crossed the room. Frank, can you hear me?" His eyes were open. not blinking. His skin had that wet, shiny look, the beginning of vitrification. But he was inside, windows closed. He shouldn't have been exposed. Then I saw his ear. Blood, dry blood on his ear and down his neck. He'd been bleeding. And I remembered. Officer Prieto, touching his ear, the rain getting inside his ear canal, the thunder, the crystalline thunder that sounded like breaking glass. It wasn't just triggering the pathogen. It was the pathogen, sound-based, acoustic, getting inside anyone who heard it, anyone with ears, which meant Becca had heard it too, had heard that thunder while she was running for the bus, while she was standing outside under an open sky. I backed away from Frank. He didn't move, didn't track me, just stood there, staring at nothing. The phone buzzed again. FEMA alert, final transmission. Vitrification irreversible once auditory tissue is compromised. Estimated 73% of quarantine zone population exposed. Survival rate 11%. Recovery protocols abandoned. God help us. The screen went dark. The coding had finally spread too far. The phone was dead. I left Frank's house, walked back to mine. The sun was coming up, orange and red mixing with the last traces of green. In the daylight, I could see the full extent of the damage. Every surface outside was coated. Cars, houses, trees, the ground, all of it covered in translucent green glass. And in that glass, I could see shapes, impressions, handprints where people had touched things, footprints where they'd run. The vitrification had captured everything, frozen it, like insects in amber. Janet Kelly was in her front yard, standing next to Austin's bike. The bike was coated. Janet was holding the handlebars, not moving. Her face was wet, translucent, the vitrification spreading from her ears down her neck. She'd gone outside to look for her son, and now she was freezing too. I got in my truck. The F-150's engine turned over rough but caught. I put in reverse, started backing out of the driveway. Gregory Pham ran out of his house, waving his arms. "Tommy, wait." I stopped, rolled down my window. The coating on the glass cracked and fell away in chunks. "Take me with you," he said. "Please, I can help. I have supplies. I have. You have people here who need you. They're dying. Can't you see that? Frank is gone. Janet is gone. Brenda says anyone who heard the thunder is going to vitrify within 72 hours. Even if we were inside, even if we thought we were safe. We all heard it. We're all infected. Then why leave? Because I'm not dying in my living room." His voice cracked. "I have a sister in Phoenix. If I can get past the quarantine, if I can get to clean air." Phoenix is 2 hours north. Checkpoints everywhere. National Guard. "You won't make it. Then I'll die trying. That's better than this." I looked at him. Project manager at Raytheon. Loves systems and protocols. Probably never been in a real emergency in his life. Definitely never driven cross-country through contaminated desert. But he was right. Staying here meant dying. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But soon. The pathogen was in the air. In the thunder. In everyone who'd heard it. Including me. Including Becca. "Get in," I said. He ran to the passenger side. Climbed in. He had a backpack. A camelback. Good hiking boots. "Thank you. Thank you. I won't slow you down. I used to do ultramarathons. I can keep pace. We're not running. We're driving as far as we can. Then we walk. Where are we going? Flowing Wells High School. My daughter's there. After that, I don't know. Maybe Phoenix. Maybe nowhere. But I'm finding her first." I pulled out of Desert Palms Estates. The guard shack at the entrance was empty. The gate was open. The security guard, a retired cop named Bill something, was standing in the shack, not moving. Coated. Craycroft Road was blocked. National Guard Humvee parked sideways across both lanes. But no soldiers. The Humvee was empty. I drove around it, through someone's front yard. The truck bounced over a curb, and we were back on asphalt. The road was covered in vitrified rain. The tires crunched through it. It sounded like driving over broken glass, which I guess it was. "How long do we have?" Gregory asked. "Before we turn into, before the vitrification completes." FEMA said 72 hours from exposure. That was yesterday, 5 p.m. So we have until Friday at 5. if FEMA was telling the truth. You think they weren't? They knew about this 48 hours before it happened. They could have evacuated, could have warned everyone. They didn't. So no, I don't trust their timeline. We drove in silence. The streets were full of frozen people, some standing, some mid-run, some collapsed, all of them coated in glass. The morning sun reflected off them. Thousands of translucent figures creating a forest of light and shadow. At the Speedway intersection, we hit the first real checkpoint. 2 Humvees, concrete barriers, soldiers in full hazmat gear, rifles. They saw us coming and raised their weapons. I stopped the truck 50 yards out. "What do we do?" Gregory asked. We asked nicely. I got out, hands visible. One of the soldiers, his nameplate said Williams through the hazmat visor, approached. "Sir, this is a quarantine zone. You need to return to your residence immediately. My daughter is at the Flowing Wells shelter. I need to get to her. All civilian movement is prohibited. Return to your residence or you will be detained." "Detained where?" "Your vehicles are empty. I don't see any detention facility. I don't see any command structure. Where's your CO?" Williams' visor was fogged. I could barely see his face. "The lieutenant vitrified yesterday. Chain of command is disrupted. We're maintaining the perimeter as ordered." "By who?" "Northcom, until relief arrives." "When's relief arriving?" He didn't answer. "You're stuck here," I said. "Just like us. Except you have guns and we have a truck. And I'm going to get my daughter. You can shoot me or you can let me through. But I'm going through." Williams looked at his partner, the other soldier. They had a conversation I couldn't hear through the hazmat suits. Finally, Williams stepped aside. "If you leave the quarantine zone, you can't come back. And if you're vitrified when relief arrives, they'll treat you as hostile." "Understood." We got back in the truck. Gregory was shaking. "I can't believe that worked." "They're scared. Chain of command is gone. Nobody's telling them what to do. They're just standing there waiting to vitrify like everyone else." I drove through the checkpoint, past the barriers, into the eastern section of Tucson. The damage here was worse. The meteor shower must have been densest over this area. Whole blocks were coated. Buildings, cars, people, thousands of people, all frozen, all glassed. And some of them were moving, not walking, not anymore. They were standing in clusters. Hundreds of vitrified people gathered in parking lots, in intersections, just standing there, facing east, toward the mountains. "What were they doing?" Gregory whispered. "I don't know, but as we drove past, I saw their mouths were open. All of them, their jaws hanging wide, and from deep in their throats, I could hear it. A sound, a hum, low frequency, resonating, like the thunder, like breaking glass. They were calling to each other. Flowing Wells High School was 6 miles ahead when Gregory started vitrifying. His hand first. He'd been gripping the door handle, and when he pulled it away to adjust his seatbelt, the skin stayed attached. Translucent, stretched like taffy. He made a sound, not a scream, just air leaving his lungs. "Tommy, I see it. It's happening." His voice was changing, getting higher, tighter, like his throat was closing. I can feel it in my chest, in my ears. "It's spreading. Hold on. We're almost there." "No." "Stop the truck." "Gregory." "Stop the truck." I pulled over. We were on Flowing Wells Road, 2 miles from the school. The sun was fully up now. Everything coated in green glass, reflecting light like a hall of mirrors. Gregory opened the door, stumbled out. His hand was completely translucent now. I could see the bones, see the tendons moving underneath. He looked at it, looked at me. "Go," he said. "Find your daughter." "Don't," he coughed. "Glass sound. Crystalline. Don't watch this. I can get you to the school. There might be doctors. There's no doctors for this. You know that." His neck was going translucent, the vitrification spreading from his ears down. "Tell my sister in Phoenix. Tell her I tried. Tell her." His jaw locked. Mid-sentence. His mouth frozen open. His eyes still moving. Still aware. Watching me. Begging me to go. I got back in the truck. Put in drive. In the rearview mirror, Gregory was still standing there. His whole upper body glass now. Translucent. I could see his heart. Still beating. Still pumping blood through crystallizing veins. I drove. Flowing Wells High School was surrounded by National Guard vehicles. More checkpoints, more soldiers in hazmat gear. But these ones looked organized. Command structure, officers, medical tents set up in the parking lot. I pulled up to the perimeter. A soldier approached. Captain's bars on his hazmat suit. Civilian vehicle. This is a restricted area. My daughter is in there. Becca Vance. She was brought here yesterday from Udall Park. I need to see her. Sir, the shelter is quarantined. No visitors. I'm infected anyway. Everyone in the zone is infected. You can't quarantine what's already everywhere. I opened my door. Got out. I'm going in. You can shoot me or help me, but I'm going in. The captain stared at me through his visor. Then he nodded to one of the soldiers. Check the registry. Becca Vance, Udall Park Group. The soldier ran to one of the tents. Came back 2 minutes later with a tablet. We have her. Shelter B, building 200. But sir, he was talking to me now. She's symptomatic. Early stage vitrification. We've isolated the symptomatic cases in. I was already running. Building 200. The gym. I knew this school. Had installed a cooling system in the auto shop building 3 years ago. The gym was on the east side. Past the main quad. Past the football field. The doors were guarded. More soldiers. They stepped aside when they saw me coming. One of them opened the door. Inside, the gym was full of cots. Hundreds of cots. Kids. All of them lying down. All of them in various stages of vitrification. Some just their hands. Some their faces. Some completely translucent except for their hearts and lungs still moving inside glass bodies. Coaches and teachers moving between the cots. Trying to help. Trying to do something. Anything. But there was nothing to do. The vitrification was irreversible. Everyone here was dying. Becca Vance. I asked the nearest teacher, a woman in her 50s, exhausted, crying. Cot 47, south wall. She pointed. I'm sorry. I found her. Becca, my daughter, 13 years old, lying on a cot with a thin blanket pulled up to her chin. Her face was translucent. Her ears completely glass. I could see the shape of her skull, see her brain inside, still functioning, still processing. Her eyes found me, recognized me. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. Her vocal cords were glass. I knelt beside the cot, took her hand. It was cold, hard, like touching ice. The fingers didn't bend. I'm here, I said. I'm here, baby. I'm here. Her eyes filled with tears. The tears were translucent, green. They ran down her glass cheeks and hardened there. Frozen, permanent. I'd done this. I let her go to soccer practice. Let her stay outside. Let her be exposed. If I'd gone to the school at 4. If I'd picked her up early. The teacher approached. Mr. Vance, I need to ask you something. I didn't look away from Becca. What? We have 43 kids here. All symptomatic. All vitrifying. And we have 6 buses. Enough fuel to get maybe 3 of them to Phoenix. To the CDC facility there. They might have treatment. They might be able to reverse this. But what? We can only take 20 kids. The buses can't support more than that. Weight distribution, fuel calculations, and the route through the quarantine zone is unstable. If a bus breaks down, everyone on it dies. So we need to choose. Which kids have the best chance? Which ones are early enough in the vitrification that treatment might work? And you're asking me to help you choose. You're a parent. We have 4 parents here. We need this to not just be us. We need families to be part of this decision. To know that we didn't, that we tried to save everyone but couldn't. I looked at Becca. Her face was 60% glass. Her chest, her arms. She was too far gone. Even I could see that, even without medical training. The vitrification had spread too far. If we put her on a bus, she'd take a spot from someone who might actually survive. Some kid whose face was still flesh, whose lungs were still working normally, whose parents weren't here to advocate for them. How do I know Becca's not one of the 20? I asked. Look at her. The teacher's voice broke. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But you can see, she's too far advanced. The kids we're taking are 10% vitrified or less. Your daughter she's closer to 80%. There's nothing. So I choose between my daughter and 20 other kids. I'm not asking you to choose. I'm asking you to understand why we're choosing. To know that this isn't arbitrary, that we're trying to save as many as. Get out, Mr. Vance. Get out. Get out, or I swear to God I'll. She left. I was alone with Becca. Her eyes were still watching me, still aware, still terrified. She knew what I'd just heard, knew she wasn't getting on a bus, knew she was going to die here. I'm not leaving you, I said. I'm staying right here. Her hand moved, just a tiny movement. Her finger, pointing, not at me, past me, at the door. She wanted me to go, wanted me to get on one of those buses, to try to make it to Phoenix, to survive. No, Becca, no, I'm not leaving you. Her mouth moved. I couldn't hear the words, but I could read her lips. Go, Dad. I can't. Baby, I can't. Please. Her vitrification accelerated. I watched it happen. Watched the glass spread from her ears across her face, across her eyes. She didn't close them, just kept staring at me as the translucence covered her pupils, covered her irises, until her eyes were completely glass, clear and green and empty. But I could still see, through the glass, see her brain, see the activity there, electrical impulses firing. She was still conscious, still aware, still watching me from inside her glass body. Her heart was visible, a crystalline organ pumping translucent blood, still beating. 1 beat, 2 beats, 3, slowing, the blood turning solid, glass flowing through glass veins. Her last expression was frozen on her face. Not pain, not fear, just determination. The same expression she got when Coach Patterson made the team run sprints. That stubborn, fierce look that said she wouldn't give up, wouldn't quit, except now it was permanent. Frozen, her face a glass mask that would never change, never age, never smile again. I sat there holding her glass hand until her heart stopped beating, until the brain activity faded, until there was nothing left but a translucent statue of my daughter. The buses left at noon. I heard them start up, heard them pull away, taking 20 kids to Phoenix, leaving 23 behind, leaving Becca behind. I didn't get on the buses. I stayed with her. The soldiers came in around 3 p.m., told everyone who was still alive to evacuate. The vitrified were being classified as biological hazards. The building was being sealed. Anyone who stayed would be sealed inside. The teachers left. The other parents left. I stayed. Sir, the soldier at the door. Young guy, maybe 25. You need to leave. We're sealing this facility in 10 minutes. I'm staying. Sir, if you stay, you'll be trapped. No food, no water. And when the vitrification completes, when you turn, you'll just be another hazard. You understand that. I'm staying with my daughter. He looked at Becca's cot, at the translucent figure lying there, at me kneeling beside it. He nodded, closed the door. I heard the locks engage, heard the soldiers leaving, heard the building go silent. Just me and 43 glass statues that used to be children. I could feel it starting in my hands. The vitrification, my fingers going numb, going hard. I looked at my palms. They were shiny, wet looking, the skin starting to turn translucent. I had maybe 6 hours, maybe less. I spent them talking to Becca, telling her about her mother, about how Linda and I met, about the first time I held Becca in the hospital, about every soccer game, every birthday, every stupid argument about homework and curfews and boys. I told her everything I should have said when she could still hear me. The vitrification spread up my arm, into my shoulder. I could feel it moving through my chest, cold, hardening, my lungs getting stiff, each breath harder than the last. But then it stopped. My left side, my hand, my ear, part of my chest, all glass. But the rest stayed flesh, stayed alive. I didn't know why. Didn't know if it was the pathogen weakening or my exposure being different or just random chance. I just knew I was still breathing, still conscious, still watching my daughter's glass body, still unable to save her. My hand on hers, glass touching glass. They found me 6 days later. The soldiers who unsealed Building 200 said I was lucky, said the pathogen must have been weaker in my exposure, said I was one of the partial cases, said a lot of things that don't mean anything. The vitrification had stopped at 47%. My left hand is glass, translucent. I can see every bone, every tendon. It doesn't bend right. The fingers move, but they're stiff, like the joints fused partway through. When I touch things, I can't feel them. Just pressure, just resistance. No texture, no temperature. My left ear is glass too. I'm deaf on that side. The ear canal crystallized solid. When I turn my head wrong, I can hear the glass grinding against the bones in my skull. It sounds like walking on broken windshield. They released me to a FEMA facility in Flagstaff. 47 of us. The partial cases, the ones who stopped vitrifying before completion. We're supposed to be grateful, supposed to consider ourselves survivors. The facility is a repurposed elementary school. We sleep in classrooms, eat in the cafeteria. Every day a doctor examines us, checks the glass progression, records measurements. They don't call it research. They call it monitoring. But I know what it is. We're specimens, data points, the ones who didn't die so they can figure out why. Becca is still in building 200. They sealed it permanently, classified the whole structure as a biological monument. That's what they call it, a monument. 43 children frozen in glass, 23 adults, all of them preserved exactly as they were. The CDC says the vitrified bodies are stable, non-degrading. They'll stay like that forever. Glass doesn't decay. I requested permission to visit, to go back, to see her one more time. They denied it. Too dangerous. The building is still contaminated. The air inside is saturated with dormant pathogen. Anyone who enters would vitrify completely within hours. So I can't see my daughter, can't touch her, can't tell her I'm sorry. The other survivors don't talk much. We sit in the cafeteria and eat food that tastes like nothing and nobody makes eye contact. We all have glass parts, hands, feet, faces. One woman's entire torso is translucent. You can see her organs working, see her heart beating, see her lungs expanding. She keeps a blanket wrapped around herself, but sometimes it slips and everyone looks away. They transferred Frank Ortega here last week. He's 63% vitrified. Both legs, his chest, part of his face. He recognized me, tried to apologize for telling me Becca might be dead. His jaw is partially glass, so the words come out wrong. Slurred. I told him it's fine. Told him he was right. She was dead. Is dead. Will always be dead. He asked about the other neighbors. About desert palms. I told him I don't know. I told him I left, and I don't know what happened to anyone. Janet Kelly, Gregory, the Rodriguezes with their 2 boys. All of them probably in glass somewhere. All of them probably frozen in whatever moment the vitrification completed. At night, I can't sleep. My glass hand doesn't need sleep. It's not living tissue anymore, just mineral structure. But the rest of me gets tired, gets exhausted. My body wants to shut down, but my brain won't stop. I see Becca's face, her glass eyes, her heart beating inside her chest. 1 beat, 2 beats, 3, slowing, stopping. That expression frozen on her face forever. Determination, stubbornness, her mother's stubbornness. Linda used to get that same look when she was mad at me, when I'd forget something important, when I worked too late, when I'd choose fixing someone else's air conditioning over fixing what was broken between us. I chose wrong then too. The FEMA alerts from that first night are public now. Declassified. Everyone knows the government had 48 hours warning. Everyone knows they chose shelter in place instead of evacuation. The official explanation is logistics. They couldn't evacuate 500,000 people. Couldn't clear Tucson in 48 hours. Would have caused panic. Would have resulted in more casualties than the contamination. Maybe that's true. Maybe they ran the numbers. Maybe some analyst in an office in Washington decided that 40,000 dead in Tucson was better than 80,000 dead on the highways. Maybe that's how you make decisions when you're responsible for entire populations. I don't care about their math. I care that Becca was at soccer practice, that I let her go, that I didn't pick her up early, that I fixed the Hendersons' air conditioning instead of checking the weather alerts, instead of being the kind of father who knows when meteors are coming. The doctors say the glass won't spread further. Say I'm stable. Say I can eventually be released back to supervised housing, back to something like normal life. They don't say what normal means when your hand is glass and your daughter is a statue and everyone you knew is either dead or vitrified or living in a repurposed elementary school eating food that tastes like nothing. I still have my Klein tools, my wire strippers, my Gerber knife. The F-150 is impounded somewhere. Evidence. They took everything from the truck, even the road atlas. Even Linda's handwriting in the margins where she'd marked the routes to her sister's house in California. Sometimes I try to remember what my life was before. Before the green sky, before the glass rain, before I watched my daughter's heart stop beating inside a translucent chest. I remember installing the Henderson's compressor. Remember the bearing failure. Remember thinking $80 for the part. Remember the green spreading across the western horizon. That was 47 days ago. Becca's been glass for 41 days. She'll be glass for the next 1,000 years, the next 1,000,000 years, long after I'm dead, long after everyone who knew her name is dead. She'll be there in building 200 with 42 other children. Frozen, permanent, a monument to the moment FEMA decided shelter in place was adequate response. Ask the doctor what happens to the glass bodies eventually, if they'll ever be moved, buried, released to families. He said no. They're permanent fixtures. The vitrification fused them to the building structure, to the floor, to the walls. Moving them would require breaking them apart, and breaking them would release the pathogen, the dormant spores locked inside the glass. So they stay, forever. My daughter is a permanent fixture in a sealed gymnasium. I'm a partial case in a repurposed elementary school. And somewhere in the desert outside Tucson, 47 vitrified people are still walking east, still moving toward the mountains, still calling to each other with that low-frequency hum. The military tried to stop them, tried to contain them, gave up after 3 weeks. Now they just track them, watch them, wait to see what they're walking toward. Nobody knows. Nobody knows anything. I spend my days in the classroom they assign me. Room 14, second floor. I sit at a desk meant for a 9-year-old, and I look at my glass hand, and I remember holding Becca's hand. Glass touching glass. Cold, hard, permanent. That's what I am now. Partial, permanent, broken in ways that don't heal. I had one job, keep my daughter safe, fix things when they break. And I couldn't do either. The Henderson's compressor, Becca's life. Both broken. One fixable with an $80 part. One not fixable at all. I chose to fix the wrong one. And now I'll spend whatever time I have left, days or decades, knowing that if I just checked the weather, if I just picked her up early, if I'd just been a better father, she'd still be alive. But she's not. She's glass. And so am I.